And it was only 15 years in when you finally, kind of got this side of the business together, which is kind of impressive. Can you start by sharing what the sales department at Lajani's looked like when you first took over?
This is pretty interesting because we had customer service and sales in one. So everyone who was hired as a service representative also sold over the phone. It was pretty chaotic, to say the least. They were doing everything under the sun at one time. So we split it in half. We made just a sales department internally where their only focus is to do sales. Prior, there was no sales script, no sales process or journey, customer experience journey. They were just taking the calls and handling them and kind of moving on to the next, which doesn't really help your ROI or tracking or anything internally. So that's what it was before. And then we developed our own sales process and department all at the same time.
Interesting. So, and I'll bet that's the case for a lot of companies. So for a little bit of context, this year you guys will be, let's just say, you'll qualify for the PCT Top 100, right? And also you guys have been around for 16 years, 15 years now?
16 years.
16 years. What I find interesting there is that there's a lot of pest control companies who haven't been around for nearly that long. Right. You guys were able to grow at a healthy pace and a substantial company over the course of 16 years. And it was only 15 years in when you finally, kind of got this side of the business together, which is kind of impressive. In one sense, you got this far without kind of figuring that out. And then on the other hand, I would imagine, I don't know how much you guys look back, and there's not really a purpose to this, but looking back, there's probably a lot of lost opportunities, right? Had you kind of figured this out earlier.
Yeah, when we look back at our data, it's very scattered because we weren't tracking it as we are now, but we're so heavy on customer service and also marketing that it kind of helped weigh how we were doing with the sales side and customer service side, because people were calling all the time for services and we would sell them immediately. But now that the process is completely evolved, it's so much streamlined. We're closing more. Just the dedication to that one department and having people solely sell has just impacted the data in ways that 15 years ago really wasn't a big deal. We weren't kind of worried about it. It was like, okay, we're making money, we're doing the thing. And now it's like, wow, this is kind of going to take us to the next level and move us in ways that we were pretty healthy growing the last 15 years. But this whole transition has skyrocketed the process.
Yeah, well, and especially now when you're having, I think at the peak of 2024, you guys had over 1,000 leads in a month come in, right? And so the differences that you make in that sales process have there's higher leverage there, as opposed to if you're only getting, maybe let's call it 100 leads in a month, you're not necessarily going to feel the impact quite as much. And so, which I think is why a lot of pest control organizations kind of put it off and put it off and put it off until it matters so much that it really can't be ignored.
Yeah, once we have the influx come in to where every so often each individual sales rep is handling almost 200 leads a week, you really have to handle all that with care, because that is where your business is going to grow. Those are the most important people to you, is those 200 to 300 per person. Whereas it may seem before you get someone, you sell them, you go do the service, it's great. But if you get 6 people and you only close 1, looking at the data, it really is terrible. But for most businesses, they're like, okay, we got some new people, let's move on. It's been great. But we look at the data, if 6 people come in, half of them need to stay.